Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Just as we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something very important as we gather. This summit is designed to be accessible and inclusive because participation in the work we have here is not optional, it is foundational. So to support that, we have several accessibility features available throughout the events. There's live simultaneous translation in both English and French. If you require a headset, please see the sound team over to my left and most of your rights. There is real-time captioning available on the screens right behind me, as well as on your own device by scanning the QR codes at your table. And there's a live streaming platform to allow for remote participation available on the Whova app. And for those of you who are joining us online, you can access interpretation through the interpretation button on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar and turn on the captions via the More menu on the bottom of the bar. So if at any point in time you need support on accessibility, please don't hesitate to connect with a member of our team. We do this because our goal is very simple, that everyone here can engage fully in the way that works best for them. So with that, let's begin our time together. So welcome to the 12th Canadian Autism Leadership Summit. We acknowledge that here we are on the lands of the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, stewards of this land since time immemorial. Their legacy of responsibility and shared stewardship must be reflected in the way here in this room, how we build systems that include rather than exclude. And now, I would like to invite Elder Elaine Kiknoswe to open our time in a good way. Elaine Kiknoswe is a Swampy Cree through her biological mother from Amsk Lake. Her biological father is from Buffalo Narrows, Saskatchewan. She is a member of the Peter Ballantine Cree Nation in northern Saskatchewan and is part of the Wolf Clan. Elaine is a 60 Scoop survivor who returned home in 1996. She's been a long-time community advocate in the areas of child welfare, MMIW2SG, healthy families, and Indigenous well-being that includes spaces for the LGBTQ2S+. So it is my honor and my privilege to invite Elder Elaine Kiknoswe to lead us in teaching.
Bonjour, ani tanse kwe wache sego ulakut. Good morning, bonjour. I thank you for the compliment. I'm more of an older than an elder. Like my older sister, I ask if she's an elder, and she's like, I'm not an elder. And she's 15 years older than me. So we're always navigating words and titles and namesakes, but I thank you for coming to this territory, and as they say, leaving your home fires. And we give blessings to your loved ones within your home fires to come to this space, the welcoming and the invitation of making connection and community, the continued community care. The community care that involves your places of your loved ones to be brought into the room. And also that learning, because there's always that opportunity to learn more or to offer that place of, just like I shared yesterday in my song, you never know how it's going to come to you, whether it's through song, prayer, words, written, nowadays texting, nowadays computering. I'm not totally computering yet, if I don't have to, but I will learn, the willing to learn, the willing to understand that certain things were set up in different ways to not communicate with each other, to take a step forward, to say, how can we do better? And really hold that and hold that place of giving thanks to what's above you, what's below you, and what's around you, from when you were children and when you were held and they offered the prayers to you to say, I want you to have a good life. And we do that through song. As you notice, I like to sing. I used to be really shy, and I would never believe as I grew older that I'd be standing in front of many just talking and breathing and sharing the little that I know and singing. So today's song is what they call a feel-good song. And it's giving thanks to above and below and around you. And sometimes you clap, but you don't have to. It's optional. But it's giving the thanks of where you've come from, to this walk that leads you here, to the many trails that will take you elsewhere, with the ones that are with you, or the ones that have passed, or the ones that are coming. We can't see them all, right? But they're coming, and we know that. So we step in. We bring the invitation. So we'll go like this first. Just warm ourselves up. We offer it to others. Just breathe. Okay, that was the practice. Okay? You ready?
Thank you, Elder Elaine, for just grounding us and opening us in such an inspiring, uplifting way. We really appreciate that. So please, with the wave of your hands, join me in thanking her. So friends, colleagues, and leaders across this country, to those of us here in Ottawa and those of us who are joining us online from coast to coast to coast, welcome. Your presence in every form is what makes this a truly pan-Canadian gathering. We're gathered here in Ottawa, steps away from where national priorities are being debated and decided. And that proximity matters. It matters because the work we do here to advance is not theoretical. It is about decisions of how things are translated into real lives in real communities across this country. And for many of us, this work is not abstract. It comes from lived experience, navigating systems that are fragmented, delayed, or simply not designed for autistic people. It comes from families who are waiting too long for a diagnosis, from adults who are navigating employment systems that underestimate them, and from individuals who are often forced to adapt to systems rather than have systems adapt to them. Over time, one thing becomes clear. The barrier is not the potential of autistic people. It is the design, it is the performance of our systems. And that is what we are here to address. I stand here as the Executive Director of Autism Alliance of Canada. But Autism Alliance of Canada is not defined by me, a title, or an office. The Alliance is a national coalition of over 1,500 members, 150 organizations that aligned across a shared purpose to advance the rights, the outcomes, and inclusion for autistic people across Canada. And we, and you here, play a specific role. Here, we are the policy research and advocacy engine. We are the convener of a national movement. And increasingly, with our partners, we are the builders of an infrastructure that connects evidence, lived experience, and government action. And that role we play matters. Because in a country as complex as Canada, where responsibilities are distributed, where systems are complex, and where progress is easily stalled because of it, progress does not happen by accident. It is not enough to just merely advocate. You have to align, you have to convene, you have to translate. And that is what the Alliance has done and is doing. We meet here at a pivotal point. Canada now has an autism strategy. That's not insignificant. It reflects years of sustained effort from this community to move from invisibility to recognition. But let's be clear, a mere strategy booklet is not success. Implementation is, real outcomes are, less variability in what people experience depending on where they live. That's success. And that is the gap we are here to close. And Autism Alliance of Canada has been central to shaping this movement. We helped build the policy foundation for the strategy. And with our partners in this room, Sini Family Foundation, National Autism Network, we are now ensuring that implementation is grounded in community priorities and in evidence. And this is deliberate. We continue to hold the systems accountable. Bill S-203 has a timeline. And we continue to ensure the system stays connected to the community. Together, this creates something that Canada has not had before, a full loop between evidence, lived experience, policy, and implementation. And we're not starting from zero. Across this country, systems change is already happening because of all of you. It is happening in communities where our members are redesigning service pathways so that families don't fall through the cracks. In classrooms where educators are shifting practice and supporting in different ways of learning. It's happening in workplaces where employers are moving beyond accommodation towards true inclusion. And in research, where lived experience is no longer just an afterthought, but the driver of what gets studied and why. This is the power of coming together and spurring each other on. Connected, culminating, cumulative progress. And our role here is to take what is working in these pockets across the country and to align it, to elevate it, and to scale it so it becomes the standard and not the exception. That is systems change. And it is the path to ensure that the intentions set in Bill S-203 is realized. And we are also looking ahead. Yesterday at our AI and Autism Symposium, we brought together leaders from across sectors beyond our typical tent, you would say, to dialogue about the next generation of systems, powered by artificial intelligence, that actually can have the potential to reduce barriers rather than reinforcing them. How can tools support navigation, reduce administrative burden, and support daily life while protecting the rights, the privacy, and the dignities of people? Because if we do this right, AI can be an accelerator for inclusion. If we do this wrong, it will deepen inequalities. And so here we are shaping the future right now. And the point is this: we know what is possible. We see it every day through the work of our members and those in this room, and the challenge and the responsibility to move the good pieces forward, equitably, nationally, and with accountability. At the same time, leadership in this country, it requires clarity. especially in times when discourse drifts in ways that can be harmful. Over the past years, we've seen narratives from subtle, some explicit, within our country, outside our borders, that reduce autistic people to deficits, to problems to be managed. Autistic people are rights holders, full stop. Not mere recipients of care, not mere subjects of system, but rights holders. And that distinction matters. Because when systems fail, whether in healthcare, housing, income supports, or employment, the response cannot be to lower our expectations for people. It is to raise the expectations for our systems. That is the standard we hold. And that is why we have taken very clear, principled positions on issues like medical assistance in dying, aligned with the recent United Nations review of Canada. Because no one should be driven towards that decision because they lack access to basic supports. That is not autonomy, that is not choice, that is systems failure. And as a country that is committed to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, we have an obligation, moral and legal, to do better. So that is where we stand. We continue to push for systems that uphold dignity. We continue to challenge narratives that diminish it. And we continue to ensure that rights are not just articulated, but realized in everyone's daily life. So this summit does not happen without partnerships. We want to thank the Joyce Family Foundation, the Hamilton Health Sciences Foundation, and the Israeli Foundation for their generous contributions towards the summit. And a special thanks to the Senev Family Foundation for making the summit accessible by providing the live stream option for many of our participants. And our official airline sponsor, Air Canada Foundation, who supported travel for financial bursary recipients, many in this room, to reduce these financial barriers and support them for in-person participation. Thank you. I want to acknowledge the support of member organizations that have contributed meaningful support: Autism Ontario, Canucks Autism Network, CCRW, Canadian Council for Rehabilitation and Work, Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, Geneva Center for Autism, Autism Home Base, Carrie's Place for Autism Services, McArt, and Autism Resource Center. And I want to welcome our new supporters and exhibitors, Dawn Canada, the National Autism Network, Elections Canada, and Good Life Kids Foundation, and our returning MC, Kristen Light. I also want to take this moment to thank our speakers, those who have spoken yesterday, and the many who are going to be speaking over the next 2 days. Almost 70 of them that have been working with us tirelessly throughout the last few months. Our Planning and Accessibility Committee, our board, our fellows, our staff, and every participant here in this room. You are not just attendees, you're participants. You're contributors to the direction we set for this country. Over the next 2 days, you participating here, you will hear different perspectives. And that is not a problem. That is the work. Progress requires tension. Tension between how different sectors think, between lived experience and systems, between urgency and feasibility. But it must be productive tension. And that is why you're here. Tension is not a flaw in this room and in this space. It is a defining feature of what we're trying to do. So I ask you right now, as we open, to ground yourself and approach that space with that intention. To stay curious, not critical. To focus on learning and not just positioning. And to choose respect over certainty. Because the solutions we come up with that we need will not come from one single perspective. It will come from how we work through the tension, how we work together across perspectives. So in closing, we do have momentum, but momentum is not enough. The measure of our success will not be the existence of the strategy or the number of meetings we hold or the strength of our language or our word choice. It will be whether a child can get diagnosed earlier. It will be whether a young adult can find meaningful employment, whether families can navigate systems without exhaustion, whether autistic people can live with dignity, autonomy, and full participation. That is the bar. And Autism Alliance of Canada, we continue to do what we always have done, to bring people together, align a national agenda, and push for accountability, and do what it takes to make that change stick. Because this is not an endpoint. So let's get to work together. And now I want to introduce someone who will guide us over the next couple of days, and many of who you will recognize. We are very pleased to welcome back Kristen Light to join us for our second summit. Kristen, from boardroom to ballroom, Kristen brings a distinctive mix of executive insight, candid storytelling, and just the right amount of vintage sparkle to every stage she steps on. As a neurodivergent speaker, MC, and a Lego serious play facilitator, she has a remarkable ability to make complex ideas accessible, actionable, and memorable, grounding conversations in both lived experience and practical insight. So Kristen, we're grateful to have you back. I'll now turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hello. I feel like I just came home. Hello. I met so many of you last year, but of course, you know, memory being what it is, if I forgot that you existed, it's not personal. It's just the tism coming in again. And Jonathan, of course, was absolutely right in that, you know, different perspectives are important. They're how we're going to get to where we want to go. But, you know, I was raised to believe that perspectives are like posteriors. We've all got one, but some smell worse than others. So while Jonathan is very poised and professional and balanced, I will offer the other side for your entertainment today. Because we all need to exhale every now and again, we're going to be, in all seriousness, discussing some rather personal and potentially some emotionally charged topics. And I'm here to give us a moment to, sorry, not that way, to give us a little bit of an exhale, a bit of a break, a little bit of an off gas in between the sessions. So officially, hello to my in-person friends and my online friends, and I once again forgot to ask where the cameras are. Are they where the lights are? Hi. Wherever you may be, I'm so glad to prove to my mother that my online friends are real. They're real friends. Thank you. So officially welcome to the 12th annual Canadian Autism Leadership Summit, better known, of course, around here as CALS. We are so great, aren't we? That's not the sentence I meant to say, but I'm just going to let it ride there because it makes me very happy. And I'm so glad to be invited back, and I myself exhaled because that meant I only ruffled a few feathers last year, so thank you. Back to do it all again. And of course, I really had a hard time choosing dresses, and then I get up here and my worst nightmare came true because turns out the curtains are wearing the same dress as me. Absolute horror. So I'll be honest with you, I did bring extras just in case. You never know when you need other dresses, and I feel bad for them, of course, because that's what I do. I'm an emotional flypaper. I think they call that empathy. So I may do changes every day at lunch just to show everything off, including the shoes, right? Hold on. Oh, hello. I woke up and didn't feel like myself, so I decided to be Grace Kelly instead. It has been an incredible year, hasn't it? I just heard it off to the side, and yeah, same. Well, some of you I see rather regularly now. I do feel like we are friends. I practically have my own entourage at some of these events, and so being my particular flavor of tism is the portmanteau variety, or the portmantism, if you will. So I desperately tried to smash autism and entourage together last night to make a cool new word, but autorage was all I could come up with, and well, that bombed. But sometimes the real jokes write themselves, even when I fail, because when I was typing autorage into the Google Doc for today, as you'll see here, autocorrect decided it should have been auto rage. I thought, well, that's appropriate. Auto rage, like the world's cutest water-based mammal just got hit by a gamma radiation blast. Rah! I kind of like it. Otter rage. Where's Ben? Ben, can you make that? Can I request that as an animal? Absolutely. But please make it adorable, but also dangerous, like Moa. So otter rage, and some of us may have felt the otter rage in this past year, you know, with some of those absolutely bonkers headlines. There was the Tylenol thing, I know, Autistic Barbie, that was a big one, and they kept trying to, you know, pin Elon Musk on us throughout the entire year. So it's a lot to process on your own. So my good people, if you're feeling the rage starting to bubble over, just look to the sky and, why I otter, and we'll all feel you. Thank you, Kristen Light, making housekeeping announcements interesting since 2025, apparently. But in all seriousness, I am apparently here to help you guide you through the space and the agenda as we go along. So main sessions, if you're in the room right now, congratulations, you found the ballroom. If you're online, congratulations, you found your computer. Good job, folks. So most things are in here. So when in doubt, come here. However, if coming here has you up to here and you need a little bit of a quiet space to get away from all of me, respect, we always have the Zen Den here. Now, last year it was around this corner, now it's up this corner. So if you're looking for that wonderful quiet space to escape to, it's actually one level up. It's above us to go to the Zen Den. So it's on the mezzanine, and I promise you that exists. So you can either get in the elevator and hit the other M, good luck, or there are escape stairs as well to get up there. Just look for the Palladian room, or the Paladin room, I like to call it, because I play way too much D&D. Thank you, my fellow nerds. Staff ambassadors and accessibility guides will be available throughout the day if you need support. Are they in here? Oh, there at the back. Hi, they're waving. Sorry, online. Good luck. No, just kidding. I'm sure there's a chat feed or Google. Thank you, of course, to Autism Home Base for creating this wonderful space to us. And if you stuck around yesterday and ventured over here to the side to the Laurier room, you would have seen the member showcase. And boy, was that wild. I spent money. Who knew? So if you are looking to check out some abstracts and some of the new work and study it and really interesting perspectives that are happening around the corner, I really highly recommend it. Super, super interesting. Now, I myself am abstract, so I don't need to write any, but that is a great space to connect, explore, and learn more about the work that is happening in our community. Now, if humans are too much, there is a quiet viewing period scheduled today from 4:30 to 5:30, while the rest of us are changing for the evening events. So feel free to enjoy the quiet space to explore in there. Now, as for the quiet space in here, look on your tables. You've probably already found them colorful good times. Fidgets, love them. Some of us brought our own, right? I do encourage you, try something new. If you're looking at it thinking, that's not a fidget I've usually stimmed with, maybe today's the day. Online people, twirl your hair. You have your own things. If there's a chat, please let us know in the chat what you're fiddling with right now. Keep it G. Keep it G. Sorry, that's not in the script. You know, sometimes the script needs a little finesse, and sometimes it needs a lot. Yes, you're going to get a lot of late 90s jingles because I can't help it. But you'll get to enjoy them in English and French because, of course, as Jonathan mentioned, we have captions up here for those of us in the room. And just to repeat my favorite joke from last year, I have English to the right of me, Francais to the left, and here I am stuck in the middle with you. There'll be a new one tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. I'm trying to get some new material. Zoom people, we have not forgotten about you. If you look to the bottom of the screen for the interpretation button, if you click that and like and subscribe, you can also select your language interpretation button. And then you're going to go under more and select the captions option to enjoy everything I'm saying in front of you for you to screen share and send to other people. Whova. Are we all on Whova? Do we know what the Whova is? Okay, great. So Whova is the cool app. that you can, it's just what it sounds, it's the who's who of everything that's going on in this summit. And it puts all of the who's who, it basically puts every one of us in your back pocket. Well, your pocket, I don't have pockets because dresses. Otter rage. So you can find out who is speaking, who helped bring this event together, and even who's here with you, which is helpful for checking out who the person was that you were chatting with at networking, but you're too, you don't want to go find them. So you can scroll the app, figure out who that person was, and who you want to connect with, and find their contact information, so you're not stuck while everyone's chatting at networking and doing that double Dutch dance, of when can I jump in? That's what I'll be doing. Oh, thank you, that one bombed. All right, skipping that one. So all the who's in Whoville, but it's also got all the pals in CALSville as your go-to place for everything CALS, because they call it Whova, but it's also Whatva, so it's got the agenda and a personalized calendar. You can find out what's going on here at CALS, and check it regularly because you never know who will be the next surprise guest. They call it Whova, but it's also Whereva. So if you are not sure where to go, there's all your maps, both on this floor and the mezzanine floor, so you can find where the Zen Den is blissfully hiding. And it's pulling double duty vibes. It's also a great location to learn Whereva. You can learn more about any of the presentations you see today or the organizations that have supported this summit. So if you're on board with the Whova, Whatva, and Whereva, but a little lost on the Howva, there are folks here to help, of course. Please look for Mackenzie. Is Mackenzie here to wave? Well, he exists, and I'm sure that he'd be thrilled to help you get all settled with Whova. All right, name badges, lanyards, color stickers, green, yellow, red. I believe Jonathan mentioned these, or Deepa mentioned these yesterday. Now, we do want to encourage everyone to be able to express their comfort with conversation and being approached. Green, if you have a green sticker on your lanyard, you are open and available to chat. Come on, do the double Dutch and come on up and say hello. Yellow, open with a few limits. And red, you prefer not to engage at this time. Yes, you can change your stickers up as needed throughout the summit, and we encourage everybody to give these a go. Red isn't rude, it's just you expressing your boundaries, so go ahead and add them on. And I love that. So I actually tried it out at another conference. So I'm a member of the Professional Speakers Association. And I suggest, we have a big conference every year in December, and I suggested we do this this past December. And I said, red, yellow, green, and we can do it though with the hugging and the physical contact. I'll call it License to Hug, and I'll model it after that amazing late 80s, heated rivalry before we had that. And I was all excited, and they shot me down initially and said, oh, that we don't need that because, we're all huggers. And I said, well, humor me on this one. Let's just give it a go and see what happens. And of course, we know, sure, lots of people green all up in your biz, right? Whether you welcomed them or not. But there were people that absolutely covered every inch of that lanyard in red stickers. And I believe, point made. So we will be doing that every single year now at my association because you never know. You never know where people are, how they're feeling in any given moment. And with that in mind, we don't know who needs accommodation, who's masking through their discomfort, and who is drowning under just trying to go with the flow. And so in consideration of the many different kinds of minds that we have here and our many different experiences participating today, we're embracing the sensory-friendly tradition of the silent applause. Who was here last year? You know. I was a showgirl for a while. Surprise. So it's jazz hands, right? I mean, that's the way that I remember it. So the classic jazz hands and silent clapping have a lot in common. So we're basically a feather boa away from a full cabaret revival here in the room. And there are so many different ways to show your silent appreciation. And I'd love to demonstrate a few of them for you here. And I'll be honest, I've done this bit many times and I've yet to nail it. So we'll see what happens today, shall we? All right, wish me luck. We have the classic jazz and the chorus girl. We have the flapper flip and the Fosse finesse. We have the Judy Garland and the Liza Minnelli, the Chicago and the Chopin. We've also got the Spirit Fingers and the Magician's Flourish, the Pick Me and the Wasn't Me. You can cast a spell or make it rain, and all that jazz is here again. Now, thank you. After yesterday, I was here for the AI pre-summit yesterday, and so I made up a couple of others that you may want to keep in that back pocket, you know, next to Huva and all the rest of us. You may wish to do a high five for AI. Keep it high, not, you know, up there. And it may also come in handy to do the door, don't let the door hit you. So if you want to keep those two in your back pocket, they may also come in handy as the day goes on today. So, just humor me. Pick your favorite out of that weird list, or your something different at home. Please do it. I'm just going to trust that you're doing it too. Let's see what you got. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Applause. Oh, you'll get jazzier as the next 2 days go on. I know there's not been enough coffee, so over the next 2 days, we're going to give those wrists a little razzle-dazzle for every one of our speakers and enjoy some vintage vibes as we shape better future ones together. And it's not lost on me the incredible amount of trust that's been placed in me to be back here as your MC, and I don't take that trust lightly. So I intend to be deserving of your trust today and helping to ensure a safe and warm and welcoming environment in which we can share our ideas and make real progress together with, of course, a little bit of sparkle and fantastic shoes. So I am your MC today, which is brought to you by the letters M and C, which is technically Master of Ceremonies, but as I impromptu told you last year, and it's now become my thing, I prefer M and C to go by Mistress of Charisma. Thank you. I bought the domain after last year. It's very exciting. And it's a lovely title, and I enjoy it splashed across my promo materials. But it is on a multi-day summit like this doing a bit more heavy lifting. So the letters M and C also, I believe, should stand for the Magic Catalyst, as I hope that my ridiculousness today has given you lots of fresh ideas and things to talk about on the various breaks. Mood curator, I'll be doing some vibe checks and hoping to achieve the right balance with how we're doing in the room. Your momentum crafter, keeping things on time best we can today. We're already a bit behind, but you know, we got this. Your munchies captain, sending you off to the port of lunch as we approach the shore. I also, these are new, I also make a very good muse of connection. So if you're heading out and looking for an opener and you're networking, you know, feel free to use me, you know, like, where'd they find her? And I can't believe she said that. And I'll have what she's having. Feel free to use some of those. Now, if that's not your jazz, I can also be your middleman of connection. If you want, I can pass a note in gym class. Just hit me up. But maybe just think of me as your mostly caffeinated maven of cringeworthy continuity. Thank you. But in all seriousness, I really hope, and this was my priority last year, and it remains my priority this year, to have earned the title of memory creator and helping to spark really great ideas and experiences here for you. Lots of things to talk about when you return to your organizations, to your homes, to your families, to your friends, in order to help craft that renewed hope that together we can keep building towards something better for all of us, for every single one of us. So today, a couple of quick reminders. At noon today, there is Autism on the Hill. It will start at about 12:15. That's a really great opportunity to connect with your community and with Quick Start Autism, who are doing it for you, and a really great opportunity to test the waterproofness of your shoes. So Krista and Tracy will be leading the group over. Bring your jackets and your lunch. You can get sandwiches and bring them along. There'll be the member showcase later, parliamentary reception tonight. And tomorrow, lots of fun stuff, including a Francophone networking breakfast, student and trainee lunch. And I'm getting the signal, so I'm going to let things move on to our next folks. We've got a great lineup today. It's not all me. So to kick things off, please look up to your screens. Online folks, you're already there, for a video message from the Honourable Marjorie Michel, Minister of Health, who will be followed up here on the stage for opening remarks by Michael Collins from the Public Health Agency of Canada. Thank you very much.
Bonjour. Hello, everyone. Thank you to the Autism Alliance of Canada for once again creating this space. This summit is an important moment for autistic people, families, researchers, and leaders from across the country to come together, connect, and be heard. Depuis plus d'une décennie, vous vous réunissez de partout au pays pour partager des expériences vécues, faire le lien entre la recherche et les décisions gouvernementales et sensibiliser la population. Your advocacy has made a real difference. It helped shape the framework for autism in Canada and Canada's Autism Strategy. Cette stratégie n'est pas un effort ponctuel. Il s'agit d'un engagement national à long terme. Nous continuerons de travailler ensemble pour améliorer les soutiens tout au long de la vie des gens. An inclusive approach reflects an important reality. Making meaningful progress for autistic people in Canada takes coordination across governments, across systems, and across communities. That same spirit continues through the National Autism Network led by the Sinave Family Foundation in partnership with Autism Alliance of Canada. The network connects organizations and experts from across the country to guide implementation of the framework and strategy. It also ensures the voices of the autism community remain central to this work. Je vous encourage à continuer de partager vos connaissances, à bâtir des partenariats et à responsabiliser les systèmes. Thank you for your ongoing commitment and collaboration.
Good morning. On behalf of the Public Health Agency of Canada, I would like to first thank you for having me here today at this 12th Canadian Autism Leadership Summit. My name is Michael Collins. I'm the Vice President of the Health Promotion and Chronic Disease Prevention Branch at the Public Health Agency. I've been in the position for about 3 years. It took me about 6 months to actually memorize that particular title, so I don't expect anyone here to actually retain that detail. Just before I start, I just want to say Jonathan in his opening remarks was making a couple of references to the United Nations, and I just wanted to say that it reminded me a few months ago I had the privilege of giving some remarks at a United Nations event in New York. It was my first time, and they said to me, every country delegation has 3 minutes to make your remarks. When you hit the 3-minute mark, your microphone will turn off. So if the microphone here just magically turns off, I may know that I have gone past the allotted time. But in all seriousness, again, I just want to reiterate, it really is a pleasure to join you here today. Being in a room like this, where people come from across governments, communities, sectors together, really brings into focus why this work matters and why collaboration is so essential. I want to start with the message that the Minister of Health has emphasize consistently, and the one that the federal government level truly guides our work, meaning making meaningful progress for autistic people in Canada requires a coordinated and collaborative approach. This is not simply a nice principle, it is a necessity. The health and social needs we are trying to address are complex and interconnected. You know that much better than I do. And certainly no one system can meet them on its own. Cela est particulièrement évident dans le domaine de l'autisme, où les responsabilités et les services couvrent la santé, l'éducation, les services sociaux, l'emploi et le logement. Lorsque ces systèmes ne s'articulent pas bien entre eux, la population subit les effets, sous forme de longues listes d'attente, des lacunes dans les services de soutien et d'un accès inégal selon le lieu de résidence. Mais lorsque nous coordonnons nos efforts, nous pouvons transformer nos aspirations communes en résultats mesurables et en amélioration réelle de la qualité de vie. In public health, so where I come from, we're used to working across a continuum. We act upstream, addressing the social determinants of health, while also responding downstream to immediate and emerging health threats. Over time, we have learned something critical. Solutions are strongest when they are developed with communities, not for them. When we meet people where they are, listen to lived and living experience, and work together across boundaries, we create the conditions for everyone to thrive. There's been reference to the framework and strategy. I too will touch on that. The spirit of collaboration that I'm just referencing, I believe, is embedded in both the framework for autism in Canada and Canada's Autism Strategy, which was, as mentioned, were released in September of 2024. These were not, and I think most people in this room know this, these were not developed in isolation. They were shaped through meaningful engagement with federal, provincial, and territorial governments, Indigenous partners, advocates, autism organizations, and most importantly, members of the autism community themselves. Now, I recall sitting around a table in another hotel with a number of folks in this room in May of 2024 to flesh out where we needed to go beyond the framework and strategy. At the time, we were joined in this conversation by the then Minister of Health, Mark Holland, as well as key advocate voices such as MP Mike Lake. And although they were not physically in the room, I can reassure you that the voices of Senator Housakos and Senator Beam were very much whispering in our ears to encourage us to make progress and to make it meaningful. I should add that Senator Beam is my former boss, so whenever he's advocating on something, I really have to pay attention. These foundational documents demonstrate the Government of Canada's commitment to supporting and empowering autistic people, their families, and caregivers. They provide not just a shared vision, but a shared direction for action. What matters now is how we continue that work together. Let me just speak briefly about a whole-of-government approach. J'aimerais souligner que le cadre et la stratégie s'alignent aussi étroitement sur l'initiative fédérale plus vaste, notamment le plan d'action sur l'inclusion des personnes en situation de handicap et la loi canadienne sur l'accessibilité qui vise à réduire les obstacles et à faire progresser l'accessibilité pour les personnes en situation de handicap, y compris les personnes autistes. À l'Agence de la santé publique du Canada, nous jouons un rôle important de rassemblement dans ce domaine. Notre responsabilité est de contribuer à la coordination d'une approche pan-gouvernementale et en travaillant avec les ministères fédéraux ainsi qu'avec les provinces et les territoires afin d'assurer l'harmonisation des politiques et des programmes qui ont une incidence sur les personnes autistes et leurs familles. We are also intentionally looking for opportunities to leverage some existing initiatives to deliver on some of the commitments outlined in the framework and strategy. For example, working with Employment and Social Development Canada to reduce barriers through employment strategy for Canadians with disabilities. Also working with Housing, Infrastructure and Communities Canada to explore how the National Housing Strategy can more effectively support autistic people. This kind of alignment helps ensure we're not duplicating efforts, which, by the way, at the federal government level, we are summa cum laude in, and that we are maximizing impact. But we must move from strategy to action. Turning this strategy, as was mentioned earlier on, into action is where we now need to focus. While we have a lot of work ahead of us, as has already been referenced, there are some already important areas of action that are coming to fruition. First, the National Autism Network is central to this effort, and as I think most people know, the Government of Canada has committed $1.5 million annually through to 28-29 to support the network, which is being led by the Sneed Family Foundation in partnership with Autism Alliance of Canada. I think we understand that this represents a clear shift from planning and development to meaningful action, and I hope underscores the Government of Canada's commitment to building a more inclusive and supported country for autistic people, their families and caregivers. In fact, just to add, we are also provided a relatively modest amount, but $450,000 to advance some targeted initiatives. So thinking about developing guidance to strengthen inclusive and participatory autism research, funding a national Indigenous autism gathering, adapting Canada's Swim to Survive program for autistic and neurodivergent children and youth, helping to expand access to practical life-saving skills. Since funding was announced last year, and it almost is literally just a year, the network has made significant progress. Advisory bodies are in place, including 5 strategic priority committees and 3 standing advisory councils. This may sound boring and bureaucratic, but these structures help ensure a diversity of perspectives and experiences are reflected and that community engagement remains central to implementation. In fact, there was a network assembly meeting held on Monday of this week with all the committees and councils and the Public Health Agency. Had the pleasure to present on our autism surveillance activities. It was acknowledged that while this is a complex space, there are some limitations, it is an important step in the right direction to provide a more complete picture of autistic children and youth in Canada. I would also add that there's important work underway to map current autism research activity, identifying gaps and priorities in support of data collection, surveillance, and research priority. We also know there's important work ahead, which includes exploring the parameters of a pan-Canadian research network to strengthen information sharing and collaboration across sectors. To advance key priority areas of the framework and strategy, the Public Health Agency, together with the network, are also hosting a series of workshops designed to be practical and action-oriented, focusing on identifying solutions that can be adapted and, very importantly, scaled across jurisdictions related to diagnostic service wait times, equitable access to supports and services, and the development of national guidelines. I would also like to flag the work of Aid Canada and the tangible results we are seeing with respect to tools and resources. Since the release of the framework and strategy, the Government of Canada has supported Aid Canada's online platform, along with 6 in-person hub locations that provide resources, employment opportunities, local programming, and supports. Nous savons qu'une collaboration efficace entre de multiples secteurs exige du temps et une harmonisation des efforts. En parallèle, nous continuons de collaborer étroitement avec nos partenaires afin d'élaborer un plan de mise en œuvre significatif et coordonne du cadre de la stratégie. Un plan qui comprend des jalons et des indicateurs pour nous permettre de mesurer les progrès réalisés dans l'ensemble de 5 domaines prioritaires. So as we look ahead, it's also important to acknowledge the current fiscal environment, which is one of restraint and difficult choices. And sometimes people say to me, wouldn't you as a public servant like to be working for the Department of National Defense as all the money sort of rolls in there? But I would just say health and public health remain of paramount importance in terms of ensuring that the Canadian economy, the Canadian nation, has a strong, healthy, participatory workforce at all levels. So it really reinforces the importance of working differently, more collaboratively. There is no single solution, and no solution that sits uniquely in the hands of government alone, and progress will require collaboration across sectors, jurisdictions, communities, and lived experience. In closing, I want to note that the Minister of Health, who we saw a few minutes ago, is obligated to table a report to Parliament in 2029 detailing progress on the implementation of the framework. This commitment to accountability and transparency matters, and it helps ensure our shared commitments continue to translate into real outcomes.
Ce sommet annuel nous rappelle aussi fortement l'impact de se rassembler. Il permet de garder nos efforts collectifs ciblés et ancrés dans ce qui compte vraiment.
As we continue to advance the framework and strategy, ongoing engagement and collaboration will be essential to achieving our shared vision. Indeed, a Canada where autistic people and their families are safe, included, accepted, and supported in a way that leads to improved quality. The Public Health Agency of Canada recognizes that there's an awful lot of work ahead of us. This is not a moment for simply doing a victory lap, but we're there with the community, with researchers, with all the players in this particular space to do our part to ensure that when we do come to 2029, which I referenced earlier on, that we have meaningful results, progress to report on, and that it is not in any way, shape, or form performative. So I thank you in closing just for your leadership, your partnership, and your commitment to this work. Let's continue to build together on the progress that I'll say we, but in large part you have made. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. And I can assure you, you're in a room full of people who find none of that boring or bureaucratic. And even if we did, we literally came to this for exactly those two things. Sorry, that got a better laugh than some. Okay, script changes. Now I understand. So our next speaker brings both political insight and unwavering advocacy to the national conversation on autism. He's no stranger to our stage here at the summit, and he's been a vocal champion for Canadian autistic community since long before it was trendy. So please join me in welcoming Senator Leo Housakos. I'm going to cast a spell in your direction.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. It is indeed a pleasure to be back here for another Canadian Autism Leadership Summit in our nation's capital. And I look around this beautiful room and I see so many beautiful familiar faces. I see the Honourable Jim Munson, who back in 2009, over 15 years ago, took a young senator under his wing and showed me the path when it comes to dealing with neurodiversity and autism and other important issues. Jim, always a pleasure to see you. I also see around here people I've shared coffee with, people I've debated policy with, and people who have quite frankly educated me over the years on this such important cause. But more importantly, I see the architects of a more inclusive Canada. I see autistic individuals who lead with lived experience, families who advocate with tireless love, researchers pushing the boundaries of what is possible, and service providers who do the heavy lifting in our communities every single day. Je tiens à remercier l'Alliance canadienne de l'autisme de nous réunir une fois de plus et de nous offrir cette plateforme essentielle qui nous permet de faire progresser la discussion. I want to thank Autism Alliance of Canada for once again bringing us all together and giving us this essential platform upon which we can drive the discussion forward. This event has become an engine for alignment and partnership. It is the place where the Ottawa bubble meets the reality of the kitchen table. In a city that is often defined by its divisiveness and its partisan theater, the work we do together on this issue represents a rare and a very beautiful thing. We stand together because supporting autistic Canadians is a shared national responsibility. Good policy is just good policy, and the work of your community is the gold standard for what happens when we lead with purpose rather than with expedient political approaches. Friends, we're in the middle of Autism Acceptance Month, and I've been thinking a lot about the word acceptance. For a long time, the goal, of course, we all had was awareness. We have since moved the needle from awareness to acceptance. A profound victory for dignity and human rights. It signals that we no longer view neurodiversity as a flaw to be fixed, but rather as a fundamental part of our Canadian fabric, and as something that we absolutely need to harness in order to build a greater country. That is a massive, hard-won shift in our culture, and we should be proud of that. You should be proud of that. However, acceptance cannot be our final destination. Acceptance without agency, acceptance without the tools for self-determined life is incomplete. If we accept someone but deny them the right to work, have we really succeeded? If we accept someone but leave them on a 10-year waiting list for supportive housing, is that true acceptance? I don't think so. Our focus now must shift once more. We must move from the acceptance to action and ultimately to results. It has been 3 years since the passage of Bill S-203, the Federal Framework on Autism Spectrum Disorder Act. I remember the joyous atmosphere in the Senate chamber the day we passed the bill unanimously. It was a rare moment where Parliament spoke with one voice because the necessity was undeniable. That legislation wasn't just a suggestion, it was a mandate, a clear mandate, historic in its establishment of a national infrastructure for coordination that simply didn't exist before. Since then, the government has released Canada's National Autism Strategy, and we have seen a remarkable response from the community. Autistic people, families, researchers, clinicians, service providers, and leaders right across this country have mobilized with urgency, insight, and a clear commitment to moving this work forward. But we must be clear, the community cannot carry this burden alone. The full purpose of Bill S-203 requires substantive federal leadership, real investment, and clear accountability for implementation. A strategy on its own does not do the job. Delivery does. Investment does. Important groundwork has been laid, ladies and gentlemen. But we are now at a point where progress must be measured not by plans, but with concrete results. The community has done its part. It's time for the government to do the same. We have spent enough time drawing the blueprints. It is the time to start the construction. The intent of Bill S-203 was never to create more committees or more colorful strategy documents to sit on the shelf in a minister's office. Its intent was to drive meaningful, coordinated change across this country that hits the ground running in every province and every single territory. Success must be measured by what autistic people and families experience in their daily lives. L'intention derrière le projet de loi S-203 n'a jamais été de créer de nouveaux comités ou de produire de beaux rapports colorés qui finissent par ramasser la poussière sur l'étagère d'un ministère. Son but était de provoquer un changement réel et coordonné d'un bout à l'autre du pays avec des impacts concrets dans chaque province et territoire. Le succès doit se mesurer à l'expérience quotidienne des personnes autistes et de leurs familles. Le succès, c'est un parent à Montréal qui n'a pas plus s'ennuie à naviguer dans un casse-tête administratif simplement pour obtenir une élévation des bases. Success is an autistic adult in Calgary who finally has a key to their own supportive housing unit. Success is a young person in Halifax who transitions out of high school and doesn't go over a cliff of disappearing supports, but into a clear pathway of employment and success and fulfillment. Trust in our public institutions is built through delivery. It is a time for the federal government to move beyond the rhetoric of inclusion and aspiration and show us the results of implementation. For too many years, the lived experience has not yet changed. Barriers to access persist across our country. Long waiting lists steal years of development from children and years of peace from their parents. And perhaps most glaringly, the high rates of unemployment and the limited access to appropriate housing. These are cracks, ladies and gentlemen, in our social contract. There is a profound sense of urgency in this room because we know that eventually isn't good enough for a family in crisis today. When I look for evidence of what action actually looks like, I look to the various organizations across the country who are doing the heavy lifting on a daily basis, and you all took the time to come together today to meet tomorrow's challenges, today and right now. Being from Montreal, I want to specifically highlight the work of Giant Steps. Everybody knows I have a bias. A school that sets the standard in its field, led by a dedicated team of educators and professionals, including a dear friend of mine, Nick Catalifos. Quand je cherche des preuves de ce à quoi ressemble l'action, je regarde les organisations qui font le travail acharné au quotidien. En tant que Montréalais, je veux souligner tout particulièrement le travail de À pas de géant, dirigé par une équipe incroyable et extraordinaire, incluant mon cher ami, M. Nick Catalifos. J'étais témoin de leur travail de mes propres yeux. J'ai parcouru leurs couloirs et j'ai vu des enfants qui autrefois avaient du mal à trouver leurs repères. Ils ne se contentent pas de fournir des services seulement, ils offrent une vraie, concrète avenir. J'ai vu ces enfants développer leurs talents uniques et accueillir les outils dont ils ont besoin tout au long de leur transition vers l'âge adulte. L'action dont nous avons besoin ne peut pas s'arrêter à l'intervention précoce, même s'il est la base. C'est aussi une question de transition. Ladies and gentlemen, Giant Steps and what the people in this room understand is that the action we need does not stop at childhood intervention. Though that is the foundation, it's also very important about transition. But as everyone in this room knows, autism is a lifelong journey. The challenge doesn't disappear when a person turns 18. They just get bigger, and the challenges get greater. In fact, for many, that's when the cliff appears. The supports evaporate, the school systems end, and families are left in a vacuum. We need to start talking seriously about the challenges that autistic people face over the age of 18, employment, independence, and housing. These are the areas where the federal government can and must play a leading role, but frankly, they are not doing enough. In fact, the private sector is often ahead of the public sector on this. I talk to business owners in Montreal constantly. Those who have hired neurodivergent talent will tell the same thing and the same stories over and over, that these employees are bright, they are focused, they are fiercely committed to their job. They want to work, they want to contribute, and they want to succeed. Yet we see staggering unemployment rates across this country as high as 67%. Consider this. Canada is currently grappling, ladies and gentlemen, with a productivity crisis. We're searching for ways to grow our economy, to get people to become more productive, and to get our economic growth to levels that are, once again, the pride and joy of this country. At the same time, we're systematically overlooking a pool of willing and capable citizens. Friends, beyond being a social failure, this is an economic absurdity in this country. To bridge this gap, my first pillar of action is simple. Tax credits are essential, and they should be generous if we want the private sector to lead. We have to make it feasible for them to do so. A business shouldn't feel like they're doing charity by hiring an autistic person. They should feel like they're making a smart business decision. We use tax credits to spur innovation in every other sector. Why are we not using them to unlock the human capital of our own citizens that can make a substantive contribution? The second pillar of action is a fundamental shift in our training infrastructure. Right now, at both provincial and federal levels, we pour millions in trades and workforce development. I believe within these existing programs, we have an opportunity to better support pathways for neurodiverse people. For many businesses, the challenge is not a lack of willingness to hire, it is a lack of tools and support to understand how to set people up to succeed. They often do not have the time or the resources to identify strengths, align roles, and provide the right support that is needed. And yet the people in this room, each and every one of you, know that this can be done. Across this country, there are programs that have been demonstrating this over a number of years. The challenge is not whether we can do this. It is whether, are we prepared to spread the scale of what is already working, what you've proven in your own corners of this country can work. Imagine a system where employers can connect with candidates who have been supported to identify their strengths and match it to meaningful training pathways, where existing training investments are used more intentionally to create real opportunities across sectors, from manufacturing to technology to hospitality. We do not need to start from scratch. We need to focus on investing in a proven model and spreading and scaling programs that work so that success in one community becomes a national standard. The third pillar of action is probably the most urgent for dignity of individuals. We must stop punishing in Canada initiative. We know the story. An autistic adult finds a job. They're proud. They're happier than they've ever been, and they're productive. They're contributing in ways that each and every one of us have a need to contribute. And then the provincial social program claws back their benefits. And too often they're left no better off or even worse off than before. Benefits are clawed back, supports are reduced. What does that say? We are essentially telling our citizens the price of your independence is your financial security. This is a policy failure that we can and must rectify. It has gone on for far too long. We need a system that bridges people into the workforce rather than keeping them on the sidelines. Governments across this country know this problem. Politicians know this problem. The evidence is clear. Stakeholders know the issue. The impact is clear. We need federal and provincial governments to work together to eliminate these clawbacks and align benefits and ensure that work always leads to greater stability, not greater risk. Because no one should be penalized for trying to contribute and be the best that they can be. No one should have to choose between financial security and independence. It is a time to fix this once and for all, and I won't stop advocating for this until it gets done. My friends, there's still much work ahead of us, but there is also a real reason for hope. The need for advocacy has never been stronger than it is right now, right this moment. We are at a tipping point. I genuinely believe this, not because we lack answers, but because we can no longer accept inaction. We have the legislation. We have the public's attention. We have the know-how in this room. What we need now is the political will and investment to deliver and get the job done. The government may be tempted to say, look at what we've done. They check the boxes, of course, in this town, and we move on. We cannot let them. We must be the ones to say, look at what remains to be done. As a senator, my role is to be a voice for those in the system that are often too overlooked. I'm ready to be the government's enthusiastic partner when they match promises with action. But I will also continue to hold their feet to the fire. I'm fortunate to be joined in this mission by dedicated colleagues like the Honourable Peter Beam in the Senate, but also friends in the House of Commons, Mike Lake and Michael Coteau, and so many other parliamentarians. One thing the Honourable Jim Munson did, when I came here, he was a lone voice, but when he left, he had created millions and many millions of advocates in the Senate and the House of Commons. Honourable and dear friends, because governments come and go, ministers change, budgets fluctuate based on political winds of the day. But our responsibility does not. We need to remain steadfast. Our role as parliamentarians, both the Senate and the House, is to be your partner in oversight and in accountability and be your voice. And that brings me to this, and that's what brings me to this room and to this cause. I want to re-energize every person here today because your presence here this week re-energizes me. Your voices remain the most essential part of our progress and our work. You were the ones who moved the needle on S203. You were the ones who forced the government to sit down and draft a strategy. Do not stop. Do not stop at all. Keep plugging on until we get there. Perseverance in Ottawa always wins out. Because progress in this country has never come from waiting. It has come from people like you who refuse less. Keep reminding every member of parliament and every senator that there are thousands of families still waiting for the promise of S203 to reach their front door. This is not a niche issue. It's not a national, it is a national imperative, my dear friends. It's about how we treat our citizens, how we grow our economy, and how we define our values as a country. We don't want a Canada that just tolerates its citizens. We don't want a Canada that just accepts people with disabilities as a line item in some social program or in some budget. We want a Canada where every individual on the spectrum has the housing they need, the job they've earned, and the dignity they deserve. We want a Canada that recognizes neurodiversity as one of our greatest national strengths. The time for awareness has passed. The time for action is now. We have to harness this wealth. Merci à tous pour votre courage. Merci pour votre expertise et merci pour tous ceux qui vous faites enfin de faire de ce pays un endroit où chacun a sa propre place. J'ai hâte de poursuivre cette discussion et, plus important encore, de continuer ce travail avec tout le monde ici. Thank you for your courage, my dear friends. Thank you for your expertise, and thank you for everything you do to make this country a place where everybody belongs. And a special thanks to Autism Alliance Canada and for this leadership summit. It makes a difference. I know the effort to get here sometimes is challenging, but it makes a difference. I look forward to continuing our conversation and, more importantly, continuing this work with you. My sincere hope is that when we inevitably gather here again this time next year, it will not be to revisit the same promise, but to celebrate real, measurable changes in people's lives. I can tell you that a lot of these ideas that I've shared with you today, I've put on paper, and Senator Peter Beam and I have sent a documented version of these ideas to the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Health. And I see a senior official here from Health Canada, so you've heard it verbally, you're going to get it also on paper. We look forward to working and executing and getting this done. God bless you all, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Senator Housakos. When Mr. Poilievre was here yesterday, he recommended that our community needs to be specific about what we want, how we want it, and why we need it. And Senator Housakos, you never fail to be very specific, and I thank you for that. All right, we are 8 minutes from being back on schedule. Yay us. So to celebrate and to reset and recharge a little bit, recharge, we have a optional movement break from the Good Life Kids Foundation, and they are very good looking over here on the side. And this is, of course, optional, and you are invited to participate in any way that feels good for you, online as well. And then we'll be rewarded with coffee and treats in the hallway, or apparently feel free to enjoy the coffee and treats now. Thank you very much. I give it off to Good Life Kids Foundation.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is, there we go. My name is Coach Danny.
And my name is Coach Cal.
And we are here with the Good Life Kids Foundation MOVE program. We are a free physical activity and fitness program for youth with autism and intellectual disabilities. We're going to shake out a little bit today and get moving, and then you're going to grab some coffee and some treats afterwards. Okay, so you can join me standing, or if you'd like, you can join me sitting. Ooh. All right, we're starting with our hands out in front of us, and we start every MOVE class with a mood check-in. So using your thumbs, you can show me, are we feeling good? Are we feeling just okay? Or are we still a little waking up this morning? So with your thumbs, thumbs up, thumbs to the side, thumbs down, show me. All right, we've got some thumbs up in the room. Keeping your hands out, we're gonna turn 5 times to the outside. 3, 4, 5. 5 times to the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dropping our hands by our sides, shoulders come forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got big claps here. So we're gonna bring our arms nice and wide. If you hit your neighbor, that's okay. 1, stretch. 2, 3. Just feeling good. We can come up over time. 4, 5. We're going all the way to 10 here. 6, 7, 8.
Almost there.
Last one. And 10. We're gonna wrap our arms all the way around us. Turning to the left. A little twist. Left. A little twist. One more time. 3. We're gonna go to the right. Twist. Last one. And twist. We're gonna pick one leg, stick it out in front of us, toes up to the ceiling. I'm gonna bring my arms to sweep down by my heel. Get a nice calf stretch in today. 2, 3. We're only doing 5. 4. Last one. And 5. Switching legs. Right leg out. Or whatever one you picked. We call this picking daisies in our classes. 2, 3, 4. Last one. And 5. We're stepping out to the side. Stretching our right arm up. Awesome. Feet back together. Left arm. We're switching sides. 2. Other side. Almost there. Exactly. One more each side. You want to deepen it out? You can. Oh. There we go. Awesome. We're going to end on 3 big breaths today. We're going to gather all of the air up and fold. Gather it all up and fold. Last one. Up overhead and fold. Awesome job, everyone. If you can look to the team outside, give them a high five or hand wave. You all did a fantastic job on our movement break today. You can come to see us at the back. But have a great break. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take a chair.
Thank you so much. Hello. Maybe we can hear me. Yes, maybe. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy some coffee and treats, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes. Bye.